If you ever struggled with clones that just won't root, you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to show you 3 simple tips to make cloning easy and reliable. But before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want stronger, healthier plants, if you want bigger roots for better fruits, you gotta check out Real Growers Recharge. It's like an instant compost tea that holds more nutrients at your root zone, breaks those nutrients down, and makes them more plant available, getting more of your nutrients into your plants. Find out more about Recharge over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Come on, High C, let's do it. This is easy. I was just on vacation for a week, came back to clones that were busting out roots.
All right, give me your best tips for cloning. I know that you're a huge fan of clone only.
Well, I mean, I let somebody else do all the work with pheno hunting, and then they go, this one's amazing. And I go, can you give me a cut? And then from that, I get 100 cuts if I want them.
And starting from clone, you get to harvest a lot faster than starting from seed. So there's another benefit.
Definitely. You get to know what you're working with. You're not just working with something once. There's huge advantages to starting from clone.
So let's set people up for success when starting from clone.
Yes. All right. First thing to know, you're cloning the plant. You're cloning the mother plant. So you have to start with a strong mother plant. You don't want to clone something weak. You don't want to clone something sick. You don't want to clone something that possibly has a virus or some kind of pathogen in it, because it will spread. It will transfer right over to your clones.
So if you start off with something weak, there's no way that you're going to grow something strong.
No, you're not just going to clone and there's not going to be the virus in there, and you're not going to have hot latent viroid in your new stuff, in your new clones. No way.
Okay, what about hydrating? I see before you cut, you make a point to hydrate your plants. What's that all about?
That's all about if water sucks up. Remember, transpiration, it is pulling water up and transpiring it out the leaves. It is going to do that, or is going to try to do that even when there's no root system. So when it does, it is going to pull up whatever's in there. You hope it's water. The plant's not meant to pull up air. If it pulls up an air bubble, that is death for the plant, or for the clone. So you got to be really careful. There's a couple tricks that we do. And the first one is hydrating the heck out of that plant. What are we going to do when we take clones? What do you do with clones? You spray them with the spray bottle. You keep them really moist. So why not do that before the cut? Why make sure you don't clone a thirsty plant?
So does that include watering the media and spraying the foliar?
Absolutely. I'd like to make sure that plant's nice and well watered, filled with water, and then make sure that the leaves and the foliage, don't forget, we're about to do some major surgery here. We are cutting it off its support system, its root system. We got to make sure we do everything right. And with that, I would like to say, make sure you're starting clean. The worst thing you can get, or the death of a clone, is pathogens. So start clean. Even take a clean razor blade. Razor blade's better than scissor, because scissor kind of squish the material. Trying to make a clean cut, make it diagonal, so you got as much surface area for the roots to attach to, or grow to, I should say. But yeah, just consider this surgery when you're doing it.
Okay, what about from where on the plant should you be taking your cuts?
Okay, this is a real good one. I used to take from the tops because that was the strongest growth. I only have, I think it's a 12 by 18 cloning chamber, whatever the cloning chamber is. If I take a top that has, what the size the leaves are, it's going to be, it's going to be that big. It's going to be 5 inches around with all those leaves. First of all, I'm not going to be able to fit many of them in my clone dome. And then second of all, think about how much foliage, how much moisture there is to support in those leaves without a root system. With a root system, that's the apical meristem. Everything is going to that apex. It's getting a lot of attention. Once you cut the support system, the roots out of that, boy, you've got a tremendous amount of plant material to support and keep alive through its stomata. It's just too much pressure, too much work. there's a better way, and that is going down a little bit below, finding some of the middle growth that is super healthy, that is still growing, and then cut it from there. You can usually get yourself a nice big wound, for that, for lack of a better word, but where you're cutting it, so you get a nice big place for the roots to grow onto, or to grow from, and it's smaller. So that means that I fit 16, 20 little small cuts in a cut dome, and it makes it easier for these plants. Now it's got a little leaf. It's that big around, 2 inches around instead of 5 or 6 inches around. So much easier to support. And you'll see when you're doing clones right, they look like they're growing. They should never droop. They should be praying to the light. There should be mist all over your dome, and they should be looking like they're growing into a small plant. They should never look bad.
Okay, so don't take from the tops. Take from sort of the middle of the plant.
Right in the middle. Find something, you've got this clone dome. Think to yourself, hey, I want to fit 16 or 20 or 8 or 10 cuts in there. You don't want a cut that's 5 inches around. You want a cut that's 2 inches around.
You mentioned earlier making sure that you're using a clean razor.
Yep.
What are some of the other tools that you're going to need to get good cuts?
Sure. We can go over them. It's pretty easy, but of course you want a clean razor blade, and you wipe it down with alcohol, let that alcohol dry first. But yeah, like I said, we're doing surgery there. Cut diagonally, and then you're going to want to put them, you got to put them in a clone dome. I use the AC Infinity kit. It's got everything. I think it's $80. I couldn't recommend that enough. That's how I left for a week. But it comes with everything. You need a good quality clone dome. It's got to fit good so that you're going to get moisture off, on the lid. These things are breathing through their leaves, so you have to have moisture in the air. The trick, I can't believe it took me so long to learn this, but after about 20 years, I started putting a little $10 seed heating mat under the clone dome. That makes mist. It keeps you, just put a little bit of water in the ridges, and boy, my clones have, it just works now. That's the biggest thing.
That AC Infinity clone dome, that one comes with a heating mat, right?
Yeah, it comes with a heating mat. I think it even has a thermostat for the heating mat. I don't really need a thermostat. I plug it into the wall, and it seems to work just fine. But a good clone dome keeps some water in the bottom. And then just the nutrients. I probably get ripped off with some of these nutrients. I buy Clonex cloning solution, and it's a big jug, a gallon jug, and it's probably like a tiny bit of fertilizer with a tiny bit of rooting hormone in there. But I'm just not ready to invent that myself. But the rooting hormones, there's something called IBA. Is it ABA maybe? Yeah, abscisic acid. Anyway, it's a rooting hormone, and that's what they use. That's what's in that gel. So that gel is taking that hormone and keeping it right on the stem, and then they have some in the solution too. So when it's in the cubes, it's just loaded with that rooting hormone. So I dig it.
In between cutting and putting it into the cube,
Yep.
the root cube, I've seen you put this gel on your clones as well. What's up with the gel, and do we need that?
Yep, that gel is just to keep it. I don't even know what the gel is made out of, but it is to keep the air bubble from coming. If the plant is thirsty, we talk about cloning a hydrated plant. If the plant is thirsty, it's transpiring actively. If you cut that off the root system, you got a really good chance of it sucking up an air bubble, which is going to kill it. So this just as soon as I cut my clones, little bonus tip, I throw them in a little bucket of water. I have a bucket of water. I'll clone 20 or 30 clones. They're in this bucket of water. Then I take the bucket of water over. I dip it in that that gel. And I like Clonex. There's Olivia's and Clonex. I like the texture of Clonex a little bit more, just personal preference. But yeah, when you dip them in there, now it's sealed that wound, so it can't suck up an air bubble. And it also is loaded with rooting hormone, so it keeps that hormone right where it needs to be.
And then a bonus tip I see, and I started doing this myself, you soak your root cubes in recharge water. What's up with that?
Yeah. What's up with that is nature fills a vacuum. So you can, take your rooting cubes. By the way, I like those little spongy rapid rooter ones. They hold a lot of air even when they're saturated. But when you have those, they're not sterile. They're not made in a laboratory. They're made in some factory. So there's bacteria all over those. What are we talking about? You're putting it in an incubator. You're putting everything in an incubator. You're going to incubate bacteria. So why not incubate good beneficial bacteria so it outcompetes? If I've got a few of these pathogenic bacteria, why don't I put several billion beneficial bacteria on there so it just outcompetes it, makes it like they don't exist? That's huge. And then as soon as the plant makes roots, those roots now are in contact with mycorrhizae, which is that fungus, that fungal coating that coats the roots, gives it more opportunity, more surface area to absorb nutrient, protects it from pathogens. That happens. If that happens on day one, now as the root grows, that mycorrhizae fungus just grows right alongside it in symbiosis, and it's there from day one. You're not trying with a giant root mass, watering mycorrhizae in and trying to get it to colonize, and however long it would take. From day one, it's colonized. It's a big deal. So from day one, I am soaking my cubes in the recharge. I'm not waiting till these things root to get into a solo cup. Of course, I'll reapply then. But from day one, I am inoculating these roots from right when they come off of that callus. Hey, but those are just my best tips for succeeding with cloning. But did I miss something? What's your best tip? Let me know in the comments. And come on, if you dug this video, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Share this video with another grower you know. And check out the other couple of videos YouTube's recommended. We think you'll dig them.